What's going on, everybody? It's time. You know what the time is? 2021-2022 official MLB free agent predictions. I got my 161 River Ave swag on. Gotta represent. And we're going to get right into this. By the way, if this is your first time here and you like this type of stuff, welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notifications as well so you don't miss any of the bunch of new videos that I'm going to be putting out. For those of you who are here, thank you as always. And please hit that like button after this video if you enjoyed it. I want to get the likes up. It's really helpful to the channel. And subscribing is helpful to the channel too. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. But let's get right to it because I know you're not going to want to be looking at my face. You're going to want to see the good stuff. So here we go. Who's first? Who's first? Eduardo Rodriguez. He's a left-handed pitcher. Boston Red Sox have him move over to the Texas Rangers for 3 years, $33 million. I think this is going to be one of the teams. Texas, I think Baltimore, Detroit, Seattle are going to be with some of the teams, and even Miami Marlins are going to be investing in quite a few role players and just solid players overall. And I think they're going to wind up taking him from Boston, and he'll be a nice fit over in Texas, who's going to want to make a mark for themselves with their new stadium. And you're going to see some overpays, some underpays, and maybe some surprising locations for some players. But that's all part of it. But I have him going to Texas. Let's keep it rolling. Archie Bradley, who's currently with the Phillies, I have him going over to the New York Mets for 2 years, $18 million. I see them making a couple of moves to boost their bullpen because they definitely need to do that. They still have some moves that they need to make, but him, I think, can be a good fit over in Queens. Brad Hand, another reliever. Okay, I have him going up to the Baltimore Orioles again. One of their role-playing, investments this offseason. They stink, but they're in a position now. They have some young talent coming up. Maybe Adley Rutschman will see the majors this year, and surrounding him with some of the young players like Cedric Mullins. You have Trey Mancini there, and giving him some more veteran support around him would be a good idea. So, Brad Hand, Baltimore Orioles. Zach Davies, I have him staying in NL Central, but moving from the Cubs to the Reds. He's still pretty young, serviceable, and 2 years, $20 million is pretty representative. Like average starters are getting $10 million now, at least. So I have him getting that, and particularly because of his youth. But going to the Reds for 2 years and $20 million. Michael Wacha going over to the Kansas City Royals. Going back to Missouri, just going to the other side. 3 years, $36 million. He's still young as well, and he's got playoff experience too. And the Kansas City Royals, I think they have shown that they want to continue to kind of invest and get better. And I think Wacha would be a good, solid guy to bring over there. And I think Salvador Perez would be a great guy to handle him. And another addition to that team to go with some of these young players and veterans like Whit Merrifield and stuff like that. But he'll be a good addition there. Aaron Sanchez, the starting pitcher, has been around for a while as well. I have him going to the Texas Rangers as well. Joining Eduardo Rodriguez, I think they're going to be bringing in 2 starters at least. 2 years, $16 million, 8 per over there. So Texas is going to be making some moves. And Corey Kluber, I don't have him coming back to the Yankees, obviously. I have him going to the Twins, 1 year, $10 million, which means I have maybe one of their other starting pitchers moving on. So, and they've already moved Jose Berrios, so I think it's, some kind of investitures there that won't break the bank would be a good idea. And putting him in a little bit more of a low-pressure environment, I think would suit him well. And he'd be able to help, groom some of them young pitchers there and some of them young players. Be a good veteran presence. Hopefully he stays healthy. Michael Pineda, I have him moving on from Minnesota, going to Baltimore Orioles, making him one of their investitures as well. So 2 years, $15 million, 7.5 per. And again, another veteran starter to add to that stable, and give a player like Adley Rutschman, if he gets the opportunity to be the starting catcher, to get some solid veterans and some people who actually know how to pitch to surround him, kind of ease his transition. Because I know there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, a lot of weight on his shoulders. So thankfully, he's got players like Cedric Mullins and Mancini and some other guys as well. So Pineda's going to Baltimore. Dylan Bundy, Miami Marlins. 2 years, $14 million. There's going to be one of several guys that the Marlins bring in. Got a young pitcher there, and somewhat of a veteran too, to add to some of those young dynamic pitchers. They obviously need an infusion of offensive pieces as well, and you'll see that in a couple minutes. But I have them going to Miami low pressure and just a low risk investment. But again, another starter for that rotation. Steven Matz, I have him moving on from Toronto to the Detroit Tigers. Again, I have the Detroit Tigers being aggressive this offseason. 3 years, $42 million, which is 14 per. We'll give them another starter that they can utilize. With some of these young guys like Casey Mize and some of these other guys, they still have Voit, they still have Fulmer there too. So another veteran like Matz, I think, would be a good addition there. Brandon Belt, this is my first, I think, surprising move. I have him moving from San Francisco over to the Texas Rangers, who are going to be aggressive. 3 years, $39 million, 13 per. Kyle Seager, Corey's brother, I have him moving on from Seattle to Detroit for 3 years, $42 million as well. So Matz and Seager, so far, two solid players, two solid additions on similar contracts over in Detroit. So Seattle's going to have to figure out a way to replace that offense. Maybe they'll do this. Maybe they'll do that in this video. We'll see. Detroit Tigers. Corey Knebel, relief pitcher. I have him going to the Phillies as one of their additional, additions to the bullpen. I have him making several moves. Dave Dombrowski is not afraid to be bold. He's not afraid to make bold trades. He's not afraid to make bold free agent signings. And I think this will be one of his, more moderate, low-key investments. 2 years, $20 million, 10 per. They need some addition in the bullpen, so he's going to give him one. And Michael Lorenzen from the Cincinnati Reds, young, power arm. I have him being another guy that the Orioles bring in for that rotation. 3 years, $24 million, 8 per year. You add him, you add Pineda. You got a couple more pitchers in that stable that can work off each other. And he's shown a desire to be a starter. So I think the Baltimore Orioles, who are in desperate need of pretty much everything, will give him an opportunity to do that. Who's up next? Raisel Iglesias, power arm. Power arm. Also a reliable reliever, stays healthy. I have him going to the Mets for 3 years, $36 million. They need another reliable power reliever over there. We don't really know if Jacob deGrom is going to be coming back healthy or stay healthy. They don't know. We don't know what they're going to do with Noah Syndergaard or even Marcus Stroman. There's a lot of holes that they need to fill over there, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I see him going over there and taking some pressure off those other relievers. And he'd be the right guy to do it. So 3 years and 36. Kenley Jansen, another surprise move. Leaving the Dodgers, going to the Phillies for 2 years and $24 million. Okay, you add him to you add him to some of these other guys, and Phillies have a revamped bullpen now. And the Dodgers can afford to move on from a Jansen. He's getting older. He's 34. I could see them bringing in another young reliever or trading for somebody. Don't be surprised if they trade for Josh Hader or something like that. Problem solved. So, but I have moved to the Phillies. Kendall Graveman, who was surprisingly traded from them. I don't know why the hell he did trade him to the Astros. I have him signed with the Yankees for 2 years, $22 million. So I think with Chapman being, potentially expendable and they could move him this offseason. And with Britton being out, they could use another power arm. And he's he's as good and reliable as it gets. Him and Iglesias are the two most kind of solid, reliable bullpen arms this offseason. I have him come to the Bronx Zoo, which I hope to call the Bronx Zoo again. I feel like it's the Bronx Country Club right now. They need to get that tough, fiery fighter attitude back, and this guy can help deliver that. So he'd be a good addition. Noah Syndergaard, Thor, St. Louis Cardinals, 3 years, $45. So I'm not sure if the Mets are going to give him a qualifying offer or not. I'm really not. I don't know. And but if they do, I think he'll reject, and the Cardinals will bring him in on a 3 year, $45. He can be, come over there and complement some of these other starters, and I think he'd be a good fit over there, and he'd be in a better situation too than the Mets. John Gray from the Colorado Rockies. He's 30. He's still got some talent. He turned down an extension offer. I have him going to the Houston Astros. They tend to get a lot out of pitchers who are like a midline. They do a really, really good job at getting guys, and it's pretty remarkable. But I have him going to the Houston Astros and being part of that rotation. You have an aging, Zach Greinke, and then you have some of these young fireballers now. So it'd be really interesting to see what they do. Marcus Stroman, I have him leaving Queens and going to Milwaukee. 4 years, $72 million. 18 mil per year, and adding him to Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns and that lineup, and they want to take that next step to take advantage of Christian Yelich's prime years and some of these other guys' prime years, bringing in another starter and a guy like Stroman who won't have the pressure of being the 1 or the 2 there, I think would be a good fit, and it would really, really help them. So in their pursuit of getting to the next step or getting deep into the playoffs. Nick Castellanos, I have him leaving, opting out, obviously, and going to the Washington Nationals. 5 years, $110 million. 22 per year. They need to bring in a guy like this who's still a young, dynamic player to build around Juan Soto. They need to give him some building blocks. And Juan Soto is obviously the main guy there. They need to build around this guy. They really, really do. They really do. So, Washington Nats. Justin Verlander, I have him accepting the qualifying offer, going back to Houston for $18.4 million. I just don't see him going somewhere else for multiple years. They're going to have to pay him more than $18.4. And at 39 years old, coming off Tommy John, there's no guarantee that he's going to stay healthy. But Houston can afford to bring him back. And if they bring him back, he can help with John Gray, and so can Greinke. He'll be surrounded by some veterans and some of these young guys, Valdez, and some of these young pitchers will be in a good spot. Clayton Kershaw, I don't see him leaving the Dodgers. This guy's the modern-day Sandy Koufax over there. So on the left-handed side, 2 years, $50 million, $25 per year. They'd be nuts to let him go somewhere else. And even though he's from Texas, I don't see him going to the Texas Rangers at this point in his career. If he wants to win, the Dodgers is pretty much the ideal spot to go. So he stays in LA. Robbie Ray, though, I have him leaving Toronto and coming to the Bronx, helping to start that transition point from going to the Bronx Country Club back to the Bronx Zoo. And the fact is, Garrett Cole needs a co-ace. Robbie A is a perfect guy to come in, help take some of the pressure off of Cole, and give him a really, really solid 1-2 up top. And, let the other pitchers land where they may. But they have a pretty solid rotation behind Cole. But there's too much distance between 1 and 3 and 4 and 5. Ray is that 1B and is that number 2 right there. He'd be a perfect fit. Carlos Rodon, I have him replacing Robbie Ray in Toronto. 5 years, $90 million. $18 million per year. It's less than the $25 per year that I see the Yankees getting Ray for, and I don't see Ray, getting less than 5 years. I see somebody giving him the 6th year. I also see somebody giving Rodon the 5th year. So, and the Blue Jays are going to have to replace that pitching somehow, particularly if Matz doesn't come back too. Rodon's the guy to do it. And don't be surprised if they make a trade for a pitcher too. Kevin Gausman, I'll have him staying in the West Coast, but leaving San Francisco and coming back, going to the Los Angeles Angels. 5 years, $100 million. They desperately need pitching. They need starters, and they need relievers. And I think they're going to be willing to spend. And with Pujols' money off the books, they can reinvest in pitching, and Gausman will be a good fit there. So that way they can still take advantage of Trout's prime years, Ohtani and the rest of them, Rendon. They need pitching to complement that offense, and he's the guy to help them do it. Nelson Cruz. So Toronto, I said they're going to be aggressive and bold. This is going to be their first move. 1 year, $13 million. Okay, if the National League adopts the DH, I can see Nelson Cruz going to the NL. Maybe to Milwaukee, maybe to a team like, who knows, even Miami or somebody like that to help that lineup out. But if they don't, I see the Blue Jays being a logical fit for him. He'll be part of that dynamic lineup. And he'll be, going from a great offense to a great offense. But Toronto is going to be aggressive this offseason. And I see Tampa being aggressive but more thrifty. I think Toronto is going to be the big spender, or one of the big spenders in the American League East. And Jorge Soler, I have him going to Miami Marlins for 3 years and $51, $17 per. He's a stud. And he's again a young, dynamic player. He's playing really well in the playoffs and the World Series. So he hit that first Game 1 leadoff hitter. First Game 1 leadoff hit ever in World Series history, which is crazy. I didn't even know that. But 3 years, $51 million, again, giving them a solid veteran player to complement some of them other young players there. And since they're more heavily loaded on the pitching side, they're in need of offense, and Jorge Soler is going to help provide that. Chris Taylor, another building block for the Los Angeles Angels, going from the Dodgers, staying in the West Coast, but adding him to that lineup as well will be a nice fit. They bring in Gausman, they bring in a Chris Taylor to help complement Trout and Ohtani and Rendon and Upton. He's a clutch hitter. He's got playoff experience, a good contact hitter, and being surrounded by that lineup, I think he'd strike out a little bit less because he'd be batting in a different position, I think. But his versatility would help the Angels quite a bit. So he'd be a good fit there. Javi Baez, I have him going back to the Mets to play second base to complement Francisco Lindor, his best buddy, 4 years, $72 million. Pretty much the exact same contract as Chris Taylor would get from the Angels. I think he's the right fit for the Mets. He played better when he went over there. His offense got better a little bit, and I see Steve Cohen wanting to be bold this offseason, bringing him back and bringing some other guys, and obviously investing in new guys. Jurickson Profar, I have San Diego moving on from him, and Seattle Mariners bringing him as one of their role players. He's also versatile, plays multiple positions. Moving on from Seager, and you don't know what they're going to do in other positions, but I think he'd be a good fit there. 2 years, $16 million, $8 per year. Jose Iglesias, another defensively oriented shortstop. I have him going into the Chicago Cubs, 2 years, $16 million as well, $8 per year. I see them bringing in some guys this offseason too, but not the more expensive guys. So he'd be a more representative fit for what they're trying to do over there, kind of in their rebuild, and again bringing them a good defensive shortstop, which they did not replace Javi Baez really. So he'd be a good fit over there. Kyle Schwarber, I have him moving on from Boston. Meaning Boston's probably going to replace him with a different first baseman, but I have him going over to the Oakland Athletics. Lefty power hitting first baseman, 2 years, $20 million, which means I think they're probably going to move on from Matt Olson this offseason. We'll see where he goes, if he goes, but Schwarber represents a cheaper fit. Olson's going to be pretty expensive these next 2 years before he becomes a free agent, and they can replace his production with Kyle Schwarber over there and pay less for it. So 2 years, $20 million to the A's. Andrelton Simmons, Detroit Tigers, 2 years, $18 million. Another solid role player, good defensive shortstop. I initially had him coming to the Yankees in my Yankees predictions video, but since they've done what they've done over the last couple of weeks, moving on from Boone and 4 coaches, and and kind of saying some of the things he said, I think they're going to be a little bit more aggressive in the shortstop world. So I see Simmons going to the Tigers. 2 years, $18 million. He'd be solid. Eduardo Escobar, another solid role player with contact skills. Switch hits, 32 years old. He's with the Brewers right now. I have him being another offensive veteran going over to the Miami Marlins with Jorge Soler to help that lineup and give it a little bit more veteran presence there. And again, the pitchers need some support with offense, and these guys will help do that. And again, I have the Marlins spending. I don't have them bringing in anybody on $200, $300 million deal, but they bring in several guys like this. They'll be in pretty good shape. Pretty good shape. Now we're getting down to it. Anthony Rizzo is going to be replacing Kyle Schwarber at the for the Boston Red Sox. 4 years, $72 million, 18 per. I know it's a little bit of a gut punch to Yankee fans, but I could see this happening quite a bit. And I'm not ruling out Matt Olson yet to the Yankees. He'd be a much better fit for them than Rizzo. But that said, I still have him going to Boston, being a leader over there and helping them in their quest. They're further ahead or closer to a championship than the Yankees are right now. So, and getting another leader with playoff experience would be a good fit over there. Freddie Freeman, there's no way in hell Atlanta's going to let him go. This guy's, he's face of their franchise, and especially if they win the World Series, they're up 2-1 now. They're definitely going to want to, try to do it again. So 6 years, $150 million for Freddie Freeman. He's earned it, and he'll go down as one of the best over there in the Braves' history. Mike Zunino, super catcher from the Tampa Bay Rays. I think his options are going to be exercised. He's just going to stay there for 20. I think the option's for like $9 million, something like that. And it's going to be worth it. He's been fantastic for them. He's also 30-plus home runs this year. He's going to be over there in Tampa Bay for 2022. Buster Posey, I'm going back to the Giants, but for 3 years, $48 million. I don't see any longer years, only because I don't think they're going to want to have him blocking Joey Bart. Now, if the National League adopts the DH, and you can move Posey to DH and then start Bart in at catcher. So, and then you'll have both of them in the lineup. But 3 year, 48 at his age now, I think he's 34. This is a representative of a good contract. He had his monster contract already, and again, keeping him around for a couple more years. He's one of the captains of that team. He had a great year this year, and he still has some good baseball in him. So I see him staying. Starling Marte, on the other hand, I have him moving to Cleveland to complement Jose Ramirez, who I do not think is going to be moved, but should be. But 4 years, $100 million. I think they're going to make a solid investment in this offseason. And again, they've been surprisingly better than they were and than I thought they were going to be this past year with their kind of rebuilding mode. They still have some talented pitching over there. You got Bieber, you have some of these other guys. So bringing in somebody like Starling Marte would, him hitting bombs in that Cleveland stadium with Ramirez, they would raise hell. They would really raise hell. And again, put him in a better position to chase the Chicago White Sox. Max Scherzer, there's no way the Dodgers are getting rid of him. 2 years, $80 million. He's staying. They're in the best position to win the World Series, or to go to the World Series pretty much every year, even though they were eliminated. Doesn't matter. You bring Scherzer back. You have a full year of Trey Turner. You bring Kershaw back. They'll be up there. They'll be up there. Even if they lose Chris Taylor, they'll be up there. They will make some kind of trade and bring in somebody this offseason. So I'm confident of that. And last line, the big boys. Chris Bryant, Toronto Blue Jays. Leaving San Francisco, going to the Blue Jays, 6 years, $150 million. $150 million. Representative of him, he's 30 years old, and he will replace Marcus Simeon's offense, which I think will be a good thing as well. And he'd be a really, really good fit. And again, his ability to play multiple positions, first base, he can help DH, he can play the outfield, third base, gives him that versatility. And, Simeon was versatile too, but he doesn't play the outfield and the infield. Bryant does. And I think he'd be a stud fit. By the way, before I go to the next guy, there was somebody I did not include here. It's Michael Conforto for the Mets. I have him replacing Chris Bryant in San Francisco for 4 years, $72 million, $18 per year. They might offer him a qualifying offer. If they do, he'll probably accept it. But if he doesn't, I have him going to San Francisco. So sorry about that. He's not on here. Eddie Rosario, Mr. Playoff. He's a good, solid player from the Atlanta Braves. That was a good acquisition he made. He's been really clutch in the playoffs. He's a good contact hitter, and he does a lot of the little things. He's a great base runner, too. 3 years, $42 million to Seattle Mariners, adding to that arsenal of solid role players in their quest to take over that National League West. They're going after it, especially if the A's trade away a couple of their studs, and if the Astros lose Correa, they got a shot. They really do. Their team is, even if they move on from Kyle Seager, Eddie Rosario, and they might get someone else. Who knows? But I have him going to Seattle. Trevor Story. He's my pick for the Yankees shortstop. He's kind of that midline in between Correa. I don't have him spending $300-something million for him. I don't have him bringing in Seager, even though Seager is probably the better fit with his left-handed bat. He's just a little too injury prone. If they can get somebody like this, which would probably cost half the price of Seager, for 5 years, and again, his ability, his athleticism, he's more athletic than both of these guys, and he can probably easily move over to another position, which would not block Anthony Volpe or Oswald Peraza or Oswaldo Cabrera, which gives the Yankees flexibility to infuse some of these young guys with a guy like this who's a solid hitter too. And again, he's not lefty, but I could see the Yankees doing something, bringing in a lefty hitter to some degree this year, to see his offseason as well. But Yankees, 5 years, $130 million, 26 per. Meaning Marcus Simeon goes to the Seattle Mariners to be their big expenditure. Okay, I had originally pegged Simeon for the Yankees. I had also potentially pegged him for Boston, but Seattle, I think, is going to make quite a few investments. And you bring him, and you bring in like an Eddie Rosario and a couple other guys over there. It puts Seattle in position to compete for the top in the West. 5 years, $140 million. Again, he can play multiple positions. He will replace Seager's offense and give that lineup a hell of a boost. And he's a clutch hitter. He's got some playoff experience now too. Corey Seager. I don't have him come to the Yankees. I have him going to Texas for 7 years, $210 million, and $30 million per. I think this will be the Texas Rangers' big expenditure with their new stadium. They're going to want to make some splashes, and again, the AL West is going to be open. So I think the Rangers and the Mariners are going to be aggressive this offseason, and bringing in a Corey Seager would help boost that lineup and just boost that roster. He'd be a good, solid player for them and really, really put some fans in the seats as well. Which leaves me to the last guy. Who is it? Carlos Correa. I have him going to the Phillies. Dave Dombrowski is going to make the boldest move this offseason. He's going to bring him to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. 10 years, $300 million. The only guy who gets 10 years, the only guy who gets $300 million. So, and again, this guy's the best free agent on the market, the best shortstop on the market. So he's going to be, and they're going to pair him with Bryce Harper because havoc in the National League East. all across the National League. They would raise hell. And you have JT Realmuto there. You have some of the other guys there as well. It also leads me to think that they're obviously going to move on from Didi Gregorius, who I think would be easily tradable, particularly with just 1 year left on his contract and still being a solid player. You bring in a guy like Carlos Correa, it's a no-brainer. So that's my free agent list. You guys let me know what you think. Put your comments and your feedback in the comments. If I missed anybody, put them in the comments as well. I'll give you my predictions and as well as their contract. And I definitely wanted to add the contract predictions to just make this video that much better. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me. If you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit those notifications. I got a lot more coming. And we'll have a live stream tonight at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to go over all these predictions. You guys, and then we'll have some live dialogue. So I hope to see a whole bunch of you guys on there and gals on there. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you next time.